Yes, welcome everyone. Another episode of Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's February 21st, 2019. The show is presented, as always, by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Find all kinds of stuff. You can find the show at the video tab. Great articles, social media links, and more. marijuanatimes.org. Search Marijuana Times on the old search engine. Today we're talking about marijuana and its safety and how that relates to its legality. Also, medical marijuana sales in Oklahoma and marijuana impaired driving in Maryland. All of that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. If you're growing in a state where it is legal, you want to be regulatory compliant. You don't want to use banned pesticides. You want to grow safe and poison-free. You can do all these things with Natureside, nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Go check them out. They're an awesome sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you to them. This first story from marijuanatimes.org by yours truly. Marijuana is safe, but that's not why it should be legal. Basically, this article is just a print version of a theme that I talk about a lot on this show. There's a lot of effects that will come from marijuana legalization, a lot of good effects. Some of the things I talk about in the story, things like organ transplants. A lot of people are not getting organ transplants because they have chosen to use medical marijuana instead of a more dangerous and addictive prescription medication. Many of those people are dying because they don't get the organs that they need. A lot of people are not able to donate organs because of that as well, because of their medical cannabis use. All of these things, and I talk a lot in the article about various things that can lead to your death from marijuana use. Obviously, you can't overdose on marijuana and die that way, but certainly if someone prevents you from getting an organ, if a state government prevents you from getting an organ transplant because of your medical marijuana use, then your marijuana use has led to your death. Obviously, it's not your fault, and you shouldn't be punished, obviously, for choosing something much less addictive and dangerous than other prescription drugs that you can get. But it is one of the ways, and it shows that legalization, that's one of the things legalization can help. It can lessen the stigma. It can loosen restrictions around laws that have to do with medical marijuana transplant, organ transplants, things like that. But also, it led me into the discussion of, even though marijuana is safe, and it's much safer than everything else, and it can fix a lot of these things, and it's the reason that marijuana should be made legal is because people who grow, sell, and possess it are not infringing on the rights of anyone else. Everything else is an effect. The reason for legalization is that, and yes, I mean, it's ridiculous that marijuana is illegal while things like alcohol and cigarettes are legal. Obviously, it would address that ridiculous circumstance. It would address many things we talk about on the show all the time, but its safety is not the reason it should be legal. And any lack of safety is not a reason for it to be illegal. Like I point out in this article and many other places, if you want to go down that road, that's a bad road to go down. I mean, you go down the road where if something's unsafe, it should be made illegal. Well, there's going to be a lot less fast food restaurants. There's going to be a lot less of everything. There's going to be a lot less choice for adult human beings. If adult human beings want to do something that's dangerous, if they want to eat 10 Big Macs a month, they're not infringing on the rights of anyone else. And yes, you can say, well, down the line, won't we be paying for the health care of someone who eats 10 Big Macs a month? Yeah, probably so. But that's something you should take up with the lawmaker that's forcing you to pay for that, not with that person. Because if you want to go by that, then just about anything can be eliminated. Driving is very dangerous. That can be eliminated. Fast food is dangerous. That can be eliminated. Or banned. Sorry, you can't eliminate it, obviously. You create prohibition around it and create all the problems that come with prohibition, but you're not going to eliminate you're going to attempt to ban many things. And that's a road you can go down all day long. And basically to the point where you say, nobody can do anything. Marijuana should be legal because you're not infringing the rights of anyone else by possessing, growing it, or using it. Everything else that comes from it is just a good byproduct. This next story from AP News, the Associated Press, medical pot sales in Oklahoma topped 4.3 million in January. There's a fourfold increase from the previous month. The 7% tax on medical marijuana sales generated about $305,000 in January. That figure doesn't include the standard sales tax that varies from city to city. It is also being assessed on medical pot sales. As of Right now, there are 44,000 patients in Oklahoma. There's 950 dispensaries and about 1,600 growers that have been licensed since August. Regulations are now have been approved now in Oklahoma, and they're making their way to the medical marijuana system. Some things that needed to be remedied, according to lawmakers and activists there, from last year. Oklahoma keeps on chugging. An amazing story, and shows what can be done if you just decide to do it. You can pretend that it takes a year to create a form for dispensaries to fill out to see if they qualify for a license, but it really doesn't. It just really doesn't. It does not take a year to create a form. It doesn't take 2 years to set up a medical marijuana program. It just doesn't. These things have been done. You say, hey, we're going to do this by this date. Get it done. It's fine. It's fine. Things are fine in Oklahoma. I've yet to hear a story about, oh God, if we need to get rid of this medical marijuana. And trust me, I look for stories about marijuana. I've yet to see a story about anyone complaining about medical marijuana in Oklahoma and saying it was just too quick. We went nuts, and now it's chaos. It's the apocalypse in Oklahoma because medical marijuana was done quickly, and people can actually go and get it just a few months after it was passed. It's crazy, I know, but that's the mindset we're in. And it takes years to get these things done, and it just doesn't. This last story is from WTOP.com. Marijuana impaired driving spikes in Maryland. Police say, and you see what police say. You see it right there in the first quote. We have marijuana seizures, I feel like, on a daily basis, said Trooper Samuel Jackson in an interview with NBC Washington. And I know it's not Samuel Jackson as far as I know. But he feels like on a daily basis there's marijuana seizures, which still, even if that were true, doesn't say anything about marijuana impaired driving. If I have 10 pounds of marijuana in my trunk, it doesn't mean I'm impaired on marijuana if I haven't used any that day. Anyway, they continue. There's a couple telltale signs in this story that they're kind of leaving some things out. One of them is this. Another thing that Trooper Samuel Jackson said, and you can hear this in Samuel Jackson's voice, I don't care, it doesn't matter. With marijuana, we're looking for bloodshot red, glassy eyes, dilated pupils, drooping eyelids, slow, exaggerated movements. Okay. Still, no proof whatsoever that marijuana impaired driving has spiked in Maryland. What about this? Let's see. The number of vehicle crashes investigated by state police that were linked to marijuana, which could just mean that someone involved in the crash had marijuana in their system, which your marijuana can be in your system for up to a month or more in some cases. The number of vehicle crashes investigated by state police that were linked to marijuana nearly doubled from 2017 to 2018, but it doesn't provide us with a number. It could have been 20 in 2017 and jumped to 40 in 2018, which would still be a minuscule number considering the tens of thousands of people that are on Maryland roads every day, but they don't provide us with that number, which tells me that number is low, because it's not impressive to say it went from 20 to 40 when compared to tens of thousands of drivers on the roads every day. But if you say it doubled in the period of a year, well, that's really significant. The number of violations related to pot jumped nearly 40%. Again, if there were 100 cases and then there was 140 cases the next year, that's a 40% jump. But compared to the tens of thousands of people who are on the roads in Maryland every day, it's an insignificant number. But it may be a significant number, but they didn't provide it to us in the story, which makes me think that it's not. Because if it was a huge number, if it went from 12,000 vehicle crashes to 24,000 vehicle crashes, they would have put that number in there. But they didn't. The Aurora, Colorado police officer, who they quote in the story, said, we saw about a 74% increase in fatal crashes between 2013 and now, and marijuana has been a part of that. But there's no empirical evidence to say that marijuana has been a part of that. There's none whatsoever. And in a lot of states, we're saying that it has, studies are coming out that shows it has no effect at all. Again, as I always say when I talk about these things, I'm not saying you should fire up 6 blunts and smoke them all and then go hop in your car and go driving around. I'm just saying these scare tactics are used to try to blunt the momentum of marijuana law reform and marijuana legalization. And we should not be they should not be allowed to do that. We won't let them get away with that here at Cannabis News. I'm watching. If you're listening to audio version of this show, I'm doing the thing where you point at your eyes and then you point at someone else's eyes, and it's supposed to indicate that you are watching what they are doing. That's what I'm doing. It's not very impressive, I know, but I do what I can. Thanks everybody for checking out Cannabis News today. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thank you to everyone who likes and shares and comments on the video. Keep subscribing. Keep spreading the truth about cannabis with this show. Thanks for watching and listening today. And we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.